on the 6 personal perspectives today, and I'm going to speak, teach, coach from 3 of my mentors, Gary Keller, Andy Andrews, and Bill Porter. And if you don't recognize the 3rd name, if you don't know who Bill Porter is, I promise you before today's call is over, you'll never forget him. All right, so here's what Gary Keller has to say. I'm going to my favorite book, page 49. Here's what Gary Keller has to say on remove limiting beliefs. Number 5 on the 6 personal perspectives. What exactly is your ultimate potential? Guys, if I'm taking notes, and hopefully you are, one of the questions I'm going to write down is, what is my potential? What are your limitations? I would write that down as well. Do you realize that whatever you say, whenever you say, I can't do it, you are assigning limits to your potential? Now, he goes on page 50 to say, what are your limitations? What are you capable of achieving? What is your ceiling? In other words, do you know what your ultimate potential is? Do you? Do each of you on this call know what your ultimate potential is? The truth is, nobody knows. And if you don't know what your ultimate potential is, then how can you possibly judge what is realistic? Honestly, what good does it do us to talk about what is realistic when in the end, we don't even know what we're truly capable of achieving? Each and every one of us truly doesn't know what we're capable of achieving. So the question of whether you can or can't do something someday should probably never be considered. Here's what I would say. Quit focusing on what is and focus on what if. Let's just pretend for a second that I actually did believe in the need to be realistic about your potential. Are you telling me that you would willingly turn your kids over to me to be taught that doctrine? I'll take your 13 and 16-year-olds, sit them down, and I'll say, your mom and dad have hired me to teach you your limitations. You're not going to be all you hoped you could be. You have limits. You don't need to dream big because that is just unrealistic. Now, if that was what I was going to teach your children, are you going to turn them loose? Are you going to turn me loose with your kids? Of course not. Okay, then take your own advice. If you wouldn't talk to a child that way, why would you talk to yourself that way? Remove limiting beliefs. Yeah? Here's what Andy Andrews has to say about it. I have a decided heart. As a wise man once said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Knowing that to be true, I am taking my first step today. For too long, my feet have been tentative, shuffling left and right, more backward than forward, as my heart gauged the direction of the wind. I love this part. Criticism, condemnation, and complaint are creatures of the wind. They come and go on the wasted breath of lesser beings and have no power over me. The power to control direction belongs to me. Today, I will begin to exercise that power. Now, if you want to know what book that's coming from, it's coming from Mastering the 7 Decisions. Yeah, it's all torn up. I've read it about 100 times. And it's on page 78. Now, what these lessons come from Andy Andrews' book, The Traveler's Gift. And I've talked about that on this call a lot of times. And if you haven't read The Traveler's Gift, read The Traveler's Gift. All right, I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to show you a video on an individual who I look up to, who inspires me, who is the definition of removing limiting beliefs. Pay attention, take notes.
With Bill Porter, whom we first introduced you to last December. Doors have played a big part in Bill Porter's life. So many have been closed to him that he could have become a bitter man. But he has a secret key, forged by his steel will and a spirit that can't be broken. Bob Brown is going to make your night with the simple story of a simply remarkable man.
So many people over the years noticed this man walking through their neighborhoods in Portland, Oregon, and never knew who he was or what he did.
We have horrible, long, dark winters, and you'd see him on these terrible rainy days crossing these busy roads. And then I actually never knew who he was. What is that man doing?
He was carrying a briefcase, wearing a tie, with his shirt cuffs neat and his shoes shined, and his gaze fixed on the houses ahead of him. What he was doing was selling household products door to door for the Watkins Company. His name is Bill Porter, and because the sight of a door-to-door salesman is growing rare in this age when people are reluctant to open their doors to strangers, a reporter for the Portland Oregonian named Tom Holman thought there might be a story in it.
So I called him, and he was adamant, no story. And I remember finally on a Saturday, calling him at home saying, just let me come over and introduce myself to you and tell you what I want to do.
Bill Porter did agree to an introduction here in his house in a middle-class Portland neighborhood. And when Tom Holman arrived, his planned portrait of a door-to-door salesman soon began to develop into a story unlike anything he had imagined. Mr. Porter has cerebral palsy. His mother, Irene, told him that a doctor's instrument had damaged a section of his brain at birth, and the condition affects his walk, his hands, his speech, all the natural tools of the work he chose. He was born in 1932 when cerebral palsy was barely understood. As a child, he was teased, sometimes unmercifully. His father died when he was still young, and when others sought to discourage him as he grew old enough to work, his one unwavering source of encouragement was Irene Porter. Tell me a bit about your mom. What would she say to you?
She inspired me to go ahead.
Her inspiration kept him going when voice after voice told him there was no work he could handle. You go to the employment agency day after day.
Yeah, day after day. But nobody would hire me.
When Bill was growing up, people looked at kids like that as retarded. That there was no future for them, and the state told Bill he was unemployable and he should collect disability payments. And his mother believed in this kid.
My mother told me I could do what I said I have to do.
And if his ambition was to sell products door to door, so be it. One of the places where he applied for work was the Watkins Company, which sells household products ranging from detergents to spices. Bill had already been rejected by the Fuller Brush Company, and Watkins didn't want to hire him at first either. But he finally convinced them to give him the worst territory they had in Portland, the one that nobody else wanted. They had nothing to lose by it, and it began a string of connections that involved hundreds of lives and changed a few of them. Before he ever attempts his first sale in a day, Bill Porter has a system that begins when he leaves his house at 7:45 a.m. to wait for the bus to downtown Portland. He can't drive, and because he has limited use of one hand, he can't tie his shoes or button his collar and shirt cuffs.
Hi, Donnie, how are you?
But he will manage in ways that arise both from his sheer determination never to miss a day of work and a network of acquaintances who contribute to his efforts over the miles he goes.
Bye.
People who might remain anonymous to others take a moment to be themselves with Bill. At 8:05, he gets off the bus in downtown Portland and walks to the Fifth Avenue Suites Hotel. Here, the young Bellhops, it's Joseph Sundberg on this day, tell him the latest stories about their children and families.
I got that baby at home, so I gotta make sure.
The bellhops are the ones who carefully button Bill's shirt cuffs for him and take care of his collar and clip on his tie.
And it's such a role reversal. A young man buttoning a man who's old enough to be his father's shirt. There's something very tender about it, something so pure and innocent about both of them.
His next stop is a block from the hotel, the Greeling Brothers Shoe Parlor. This is where the shine comes from. This is where his shoes finally are tied for him by Jeff McAlpine. Then his painstaking daily work begins.
Then he takes another bus to his route and starts hoofing it. Up and down hills, up and down steps, and walking is difficult to Bill. The physical act of what he does really speaks to the internal Bill. Don't give up. There's no obstacle that you can't overcome.
He walks 7 miles and more each day with a chronic back ailment to stand and listen to people say yes or no to his overtures, door by door. But this man who faced so much discouragement early in his life never complains and has never been put off by the rejections in his 35 years of selling. It goes with the territory.
You just realize it's business when people say,
realize it's a job, right? It doesn't bother me.
Is that your mom?
Yeah,
One person Bill Porter has let in on some of his secrets of selling is Shelley Brady, who started working for Bill when she was in high school because he needs someone who can drive to deliver the products that his customers order.
He says, I will knock on a door and they'll tell me no, and they'll tell me to never, ever, ever come back.
I don't think there's anything we need this time.
He doesn't hear that. He doesn't hear the word no. He never gives up. And they are some of his best customers.
This stop is at Janet Brown's house. Bill doesn't carry a display case, but he does carry pictures of his products that he has mounted carefully in plastic pages.
Is that where it comes in 2 packages?
no, he just can buy them individually,
He doesn't leave without me buying something.
He's like Creole.
I haven't tried too much Creole. He's got it figured out. He just keeps showing me things until I find just the right thing. I can't think, so I think I better get the
His customers fill out their own order forms for him before he's off again.
Bye-bye.
People don't buy from Bill because they feel sorry for him. If they did, I think they would buy once and that would be the end of it. But he's selling to second-generation Portland people.
Why don't you give me 2 of those?
This one here's the new one. I've been buying from Bill Porter for 27 years. 27 years. 2 previous addresses and now this one. Won't take no for an answer, and he's always able to sell products.
if you had your case here and were going to show me your product line, where would you start with me?
With the laundry detergent.
And why would I need some?
The black highly concentrated.
Highly concentrated
And I go about 3 times longer than the kind you buy in the store for the same amount.
So it'll take the gray out of my clothes.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of a series of orders, in his home, Bill types up what his customers have written down for him, using one hand, one finger. If needed, he will type intricate directions to each house, so Shelley Brady will know exactly where to deliver the products by car.
How long does it take to type the order?
13 hours.
13 hours.
13 hours.
He types with one finger what you and I could do in an hour. And when I would offer to do that, he would tell me, oh, you're busy, and this is the way I do it.
Why don't you just let Shelley type the orders?
Look at Shelley had 5 children of her own, and she had her hands full with them.
So you're going to type the orders?
Yeah, I'm going to type them.
Through all the years of work, Bill continued to live with his mother until she fell ill in the late 1980s and underwent a personality change because of Alzheimer's disease. In its first stages, she went through a complete turnabout, and this woman who had inspired his career would beg Bill not to leave the home to work. It was one of the hardest times in his life.
But I had to go to work.
You had to go to work?
I had to go to work to pay the bills.
And then you would come back home?
And then she didn't speak to me when I came back home for about an hour and a half. because she still remembers what I did to her.
Bill tended his mother faithfully at the end of each day until she died under nursing care in 1989. He says he thinks of her still, just as if she were here in the home.
We got some strawberry shortcake for you, Bill.
Shelley Brady visits him often. Since first working for Bill in high school, she has grown up, gotten married, and become the mother of 5 children. She helps him keep things up, and her kids look on him as a kind of grandfather.
What do you guys say? Kevin said sorry.
And whatever happened to the story Tom Hallman found when Bill Porter finally agreed to meet with him here? Well, in November of 1995, Hallman's story was published in the Portland Oregonian. And then, this man that people had noticed but never known became a name and a face and an inspiration.
I received hundreds and hundreds of letters, faxes, and phone calls, and not just letters saying, nice story, but poignant letters from people who are grown now, who remember him when they were children, who had teased him on the bus, or who had hidden when he came to their door.
One man called, and he said he was one of the young boys, when he was young, who made fun of Bill Porter. And he was in tears. He said, would you buy $250 worth of Watkins products and give it to some needy families and let Bill get the commission? And tell Bill I'm sorry. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Bill's reaction to the letters that came in was to say his mother would have been proud. He faces each day just as he did before. The people may change, but the system he's devised works from this first mile on. As a man who sometimes gently relies on others, he is most of all a source of strength, because what he believed he could do, he did, and all the voices in his life that told him no were silenced by the whisper of his will. He hardly ever takes vacations, sticks stubbornly to the order he has established, and rain or shine, will walk his 7 or more miles a day, often painfully, for around $300 a week, never complaining, noticed in passing from the windows of homes and cars, neatly dressed, moving on. He is one of the last of his kind, so take a good look at him.
I think all of us want to think we have a little bit of Bill Porter in us. That's one of Bill's great features, is he's a man really unspoiled by the time.
I know.
Take care.
This was a man from a different era, working in a world that really didn't need a man like Bill Porter. But what the world needs is not what Bill Porter is selling, but Bill Porter himself.
Wow, that was powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you guys hear? Talk to me.
Consistency.
Consistency. Yeah.
Tenacity, just kept his schedule.
Tenacity.
You had a system.
He had a system. He had a system. He had the same system that he followed every single day.
Don't take no for an answer.
He was not a no guy. He didn't take no for an answer.
Don't take no for an answer. No is not a word that lives in my vocabulary. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the meaning of the word no. No just means that you don't K-N-O-W enough.
He rejected rejection.
He rejected rejection.
He quit focusing on what is and he focused on what if.
What if? Absolutely.
No complaining.
No complaining, Valerie. He never complained a day in his life. Did Bill Porter have a right to complain? Yeah. Did he have reasons to complain? Yeah. And he never did.
Can you explain what whisper of his will meant?
I think that's the inner voice that is inside your heart that is pushing you forward when all of the other voices around you are telling you to give up.
And I agree with that, John, because, you know, when his mom got sick and his mom is his cheerleader and she's telling him, I don't want you to leave the house, that must have been very rough for him because that's the only person that supported him.
His dream champion died. He had to live the rest of his life without his dream champion. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Dream Champion and Dream Bullies, read The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. So there's a few hands up, and I don't want to ignore those. Mindy Doppler. I'm just going in the order that I see them here. These may be still up from
That was
earlier,
the old
right?
one. Yep,
yeah,
that's
I
from
thought
before.
So. Okay,
Yep.
Jack Smith, your hand is still up. Jenny, your hand is up. I don't think that your hand was up earlier. So Jenny, talk to me. Okay. Marie Este. I hope I said that right. We worked on that yesterday.
Thank you. Well, one of the notes I took, he took the challenge, or he asked for a big challenge to go up, on the worst neighborhood. And then, after many years, people began to know him, and they felt that he was a source of strength because of his persistence, and he didn't give up.
You know, it's amazing what we're capable of doing. Here's what I want you to hear on that, because you're absolutely right. And it's amazing what we're capable of doing when we don't have another option. Bill didn't look for plan B, because for Bill, there was no plan B. If you're focused on plan B, you're always going to go to plan B. If there is a plan B, you're going to go to plan B.
When I was just looking at him, how he was door knocking and doing, well, my experience also door knocking, there are people always that, there are some people that are really not happy and they yell at you, whatever, but later on they change. So the persistence and the face-to-face is very important for people, you know.
Wear them down, win them over. Wear them down, win them over. Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah. Michael.
You never know. Yeah, you never know the people that you are inspiring. You never know the people that you're affecting. You never know the people that are watching you.
You don't. Yeah. And you're changing the world. Remember the butterfly effect. You are changing lives of generations yet unborn. Victoria Gordo.
Hi. What I really loved is, you know, he was surrounding himself with people that he didn't even notice that were noticing him. You know, and it reminds you of who are you surrounding yourself with that are lifting you up. You know, the bellhop who was taking the time to make sure he was starting out buttoned up, shining his shoes, making sure that he was polished and ready to go. They were lifting him up, and yet he was inspiring them. So who are we surrounding us with that are cheering us on, our cheerleaders, making sure that we're successful?
Yeah. Great job, Victoria. When you shine a light in someone's path, you can't help but brighten your path as well. No hands are raised, so just talk to me.
Well, just thinking about the cheerleaders, you know, like, I don't mean to be corny, but we have cheerleaders all around us in this company. You, Victoria, the coaches, even our fellow agents, everybody is our cheerleader. Everybody's so supportive.
This is true, Paige, and we're fortunate for that. And there are plenty of dream bullies around us as well. Matter of fact, sometimes the dream bullies are our own self-talk. It's 8:32. Give me one more. This is how I know nobody's going to talk, because every time I say one more, you guys get quiet. Yeah, there we go. I knew it would happen. Okay, it's 8:30. Time to get to work. Remove. Yeah.
Beginning of the chat, I don't know if you answered it or not. It mentions about having this conference week at Mega Camp, during Mega Camp.
Great question. Great question. Yeah. Mega Camp starts at 9 o'clock every morning, I believe. And if I'm right, then this call is on. We will still have this call every day. And if there's fewer people here because they're in mega camp, that's cool. If I only have 5 of you show up and those 5 are impacted by that call, then it's worth my time to be on the call. So the call is on. We're not canceling the call. All right, time to get to work. 20 conversations. Not 19, not 18, 20. The 19th call could be a $500,000 listing that you didn't get because you didn't make the call, and not making that call cost you $15,000. It's 20 conversations. The purpose of the conversation is to build a relationship. It's a care call, not a sale call. You are making calls in order to provide a better experience for those individuals that you are blessed to work with. The purpose of every call is also to get an appointment with someone who is thinking of selling their home, thinking of buying a home. Doesn't matter if it's 30 days, 6 months from now, or a year from now, because you're going to be listing and selling homes a year from now. Follow up forever. Follow up forever simply means you're never going to stop calling unless they list their home, sell their home, or you're dead. Then you can stop calling. And that's from Tom Hopkins and Mastering the Art of Listing and Selling Real Estate. So don't hold that one against me. It's a quote, and I am a quote ninja. So follow up forever, reject rejection. The word no is not a word that lives in your vocabulary. Write 5 handwritten personal notes every single day, and make today a great day.